I'm Darv James and welcome to this episode of the Book Geek. This video might feel a little off-brand, not in a big dramatic way, just quieter and a little more reflective, maybe some things I've wanted to say out loud for a long time, because I'm not here to tell you how to read more. I'm not here to tell you to read harder books. I'm not going to give you a list or challenge or a printable PDF. I want to talk about one of the oldest BookTube staples there is. You know the video. I think we've all made it, or at least seriously considered it at some point or another. How to be a better reader. And usually what that means is read more classics. Read more difficult books. Read more books per year. Stop reading trash. Challenge yourself. Expand your horizons. And listen, I'm not here to dunk on those videos. I've made versions of them myself. None of that advice is wrong. But I don't think it's right either. Because I think a lot of us were taught how to read in a way that kind of quietly ended the happiness, and we carry that damage into adulthood, into BookTube, into Goodreads, into BookTok, without even stopping to ask whether that version of reading actually kind of serves us anymore. Here's the thing. Most of us learn how to really read in schools, in colleges and universities. And we're taught through a very specific lens, a critical lens. You don't just read a book, you dissect it, you strip it down page by page, paragraph by paragraph, word by word, letter by letter, theme, subtext, symbolism, mythos you were told are there whether you felt them or not. Author intent, or more accurately, what your teacher or lecturer thinks the author meant. And by the end of it, the book barely feels like a story anymore. It's been turned into a corpse laid out on a stainless steel table under fluorescent lights, while everyone argues about what part matters the most. And again, I want to be very clear here, I'm not saying this kind of reading is not valid. It does have its place, but somewhere along the line we've absorbed this idea that it's the only way to read and it's the correct way to read. If you're not analysing something, you're not engaging. If you're not pulling out themes, you're being shallow. If you finished a book and say, I loved it, people look at you like you failed an exam. And I see this all the time online. People talking about books like they're defending a PhD thesis. People forcing depth into stories that were never meant to carry it. People genuinely apologising for enjoying something. And I just keep thinking, when did reading become homework again? None of us are in those places anymore. We don't have to write an essay. Mrs. Bogan is not going to be upset with you if you're late with your homework. I actually think to become a better reader, you don't need to learn anything new, you need to unlearn something. You need to unlearn the idea that every book is a puzzle you're supposed to solve, because some puzzles are never meant to be solved, and some books aren't puzzles. Some books are just experiences. They're meant to be lived in, they're meant to wash over you, they're meant to hit you emotionally. And instead of asking, what is this book saying about society, we should be asking, and we should try asking, how did it make me feel? Did it linger with me the next day? Did I forget it immediately, or did something stick? Did it annoy me in an interesting way? Did it open a door in my head I didn't know was there? Because those reactions matter. And here's something we don't say enough, especially online. You can read a bad book that does something important to you. It can be clumsy, it can be messy, it can be technically flawed, and still it hits you at exactly the right moment in your life. Maybe you needed it. Maybe it spoke to a version of you that no better book ever did. That counts. I think we've become obsessed with proving our intelligence in reading, and we've forgotten why we started reading in the first place. And I don't think that's an accident. This part, well, might make people uncomfortable, but honestly, I don't care. I don't at all, actually. Books are a product. They're made to be consumed. They're made to be read. They're made to be a product. Despite being the work that's gone into it, it's a product that you buy. It doesn't make them cheap. It doesn't make them disposable. And it doesn't make you shallow for enjoying them. Movies are products. Music is a product. Video games are a product. And yet we talk about those things in emotional terms all the time. This album got me through a really dark time in my life. This game helped me escape when things were really bad. This film changed how I see the world. No one demands a thesis statement before you're allowed to love a song, but with a book, or books in general, suddenly everyone becomes an academic. We stop talking about happiness, we stop talking about connection, we stop talking about feeling, and instead we argue over whether something is important, whether it deserves its popularity, whether you're allowed to like it. Goodreads doesn't help. That website's a cesspit the best of times. Endless reviews don't help. Hot takes definitely don't help. You just want attention on the internet, let's be honest. And TBRs that stretch 5 years into the future definitely don't help. Let's be honest, most of us aren't even checking those lists by the end of the year anyway. And if you don't meet it, it's not a moral failing, it's just being human. One of the most freeing things I ever did as a reader was stop caring whether other people agreed with me. Stopping reading to impress, stopped reading to keep up, stopped reading to justify my taste. And I started reading for me. What moved me, what entertains me, what stayed with me after I closed the book and turned the light off. Because at the end of the day, no one else lives in your head. No one else carries your memories, your context, your emotional baggage. A book that does nothing for someone else might quietly rearrange something inside you. And that's not something a star rating can truly ever measure. I want to see people talk less about, is this book objectively good, and more about, what did this book do for me right now, in this moment, in this exact time in my life? Because that's the part of reading that actually lasts. That's the part that stays with you long after any ridiculous or reductive discourse moves on. So if you want to be a better reader, maybe, just maybe, stop chasing harder books. Stop chasing numbers, that is a definite one. Maybe stop chasing approval from strangers on the internet. And maybe just start reading for yourself. Read what makes you feel something. Read what makes you happy. Read what makes you deeply uncomfortable. Read what makes you curious. And if you enjoyed it, that's enough. You don't owe anyone a justification. You don't owe anyone an explanation. And you don't owe the internet your happiness. And that's being brutally honest. So I'm Darth James, and this has been The Bald Book Geek. First episode of 2026. And what I'm going to say is, if you like this video, please subscribe, hit that like button, tell me what you think in the comments. I want to know. And if you want to support this weird little corner of the internet, you can do it via my Patreon, Substack, channel memberships, or even just buy me a coffee on Ko-fi. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.